To-do lists don't give you any strategy. They don't give you any direction. I know a lot of people are taught to work off to-do lists. I actually never advised to-do lists. We saved 4 hours a day. We saved about 28 hours in that week. And she was like, oh my God, are you a relationship guru too? And I was like, well, we just made the time for it.
Hey, Conscious Crew. I am your host, Sia, the Transparent Therapist. And today we are going to be talking about organization and time management. So I have my friend, Sade Kelly, with us. I would love for Sade to just introduce herself and tell you guys who she is. Sade, what's up?
Hi, Sia. Hi, everyone. I'm Sade Kelly. I'm a time management coach. I help part-time and full-time female entrepreneurs manage their time so they can balance their work, their wellness, and their relationships peacefully.
Awesome. So Sade and I don't like saying way back because that sounds like eons ago, but maybe pre-baby is when I met Sade, and I had an academy and she kind of just tell me like what worked for her. And now today she is an amazing coach. Sade, can you just kind of walk us through your journey? Like, how did you become a time management coach and what is that?
Yes. So I did not think I would be a coach or a time management coach specifically. It just wasn't what I thought I would be. So how I started my entrepreneurship journey was back when I was about 10 years old. I actually started a business called Sade Snacks when I was in elementary school. Yeah. So I'm kind of like that, cliche entrepreneur. Started selling stuff really, really young. And from there in high school, I was a leader of a lot of things. I was interested in business, but I was stuck on being a journalist. But I had an advisor at the time who was like, you clearly have a knack for business. You should probably go to school for that. So I said, okay, I see what you mean. So I ended up going to school for business and specializing in marketing, communications. And while I was there, I got an internship. I wanted the top advertising firms or whatever. And honestly, I think the only reason I got this job is because I heard that only 2% of people get it. And I was like, ooh, I'm super competitive. So I'm just going to get it because I got to get it to get it. And I ended up being one of 2 students in the entire college who gets this internship. And then basically from there, your career is pretty set. So I ended up going into that same firm, but a different sector after graduation, and I was working there maybe 2 years in. I think that's when I actually discovered you online. And I was like, no, I want to go all in with my blog. I'm tired of this advertising job. I enjoyed parts of it, but for the most part, it wasn't as creative as I wanted. I didn't really love it that much. I didn't feel like I had the flexibility that I wanted. So I started my blog, which is now the name of my company, which is The Fire Inside. And at the time it was a blog. I just wanted to do personal development and travel and wellness. I just wanted to share stuff about my life because naturally stuff I like to share in my own personal life. So that's when I did your program. I got my blog off to a good start. And then I did influencer marketing because once you're blogging, it's kind of you fall into influencer marketing. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I did an e-commerce business. So I started selling water bottles on Amazon. So random. Don't ask me why I did that. I just wanted to test things out.
I don't even know about that. So that's probably when I took my very long break in social media and had no idea what was going on in people's lives. Okay. A water bottle. So you sold water or just the water bottle?
No, I sold water bottles, an actual, I wish I had one next to me. I sold actual water bottles. I call them finesse fitness bottles. I sourced them from China. It was a whole thing. Yeah. And that was because I got sucked into the whole, at that time it was 2018. I think, now it's prevalent too, but in 2018, everyone was talking about passive income. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell a product on Amazon. That product did not really sell well. I lost a lot of money to Amazon marketing. And I honestly only made back some of the money doing trade shows and in-person pop-up shops. And I was like, this is not for me. Okay, done with that. After that is when I started hosting networking events, which felt really aligned. I started hosting these events, having speakers come on. And while I was doing that, people around me started noticing that I was doing these events. I was managing my job. I had got promoted at my job at that. So now I was managing a team, even bigger team. And they were like, well, how do you find the time to do all these different things? And I was like, well, I project manage at work and I have to manage all these campaigns for Mercedes-Benz because that's the client I was with at that time. And then I was like, then I come home and I have to be attentive to my then boyfriend, who's my husband now. Then I got to call this and do this and I have to manage my event. And everyone's like, how? And I was like, I really have just a system. And that's how I've gotten here, because without the system, I would be burning out. I would literally be crying. Like, I had weeks when I was just burnt out and I was like, I can't live like this. And so some of my friends ended up asking me, can you just do like a workshop for me privately? So I do this workshop with my friends in a Starbucks in New York City. And then the next week I asked them, like, did that workshop help? Was it, useful? And each of them were like, we saved 4 hours a day. We saved about 28 hours in that week. And that's when it clicked. Like, all right, I have expertise at helping people get their lives together, manage their time better. And because they're able to do that, now they're starting the businesses they put off. Now they're spending time with the partner, or they're dating, or they're finally have time for wellness or self-care. And it was like, oh, this actually is changing their lives. So I ended up seeing that as a niche. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to do life coaching, but I'm going to niche into time management. I'm going to be a time management coach. I hired a business coach naturally because I'm not trying to do it the long way. I got to learn from a mentor who's done it already. Yeah. So that's kind of my journey. And now I started this business April of 2020 during the pandemic. And then I quit my full-time job in September of 2020. And I've been full-time in this for almost 4 years.
Oh my gosh, Sade. That is amazing. So from 2018 to 2020, so in the span of 2 years, like your business basically like propelled, right? And accelerated to the point where you're like, hey, I don't need my regular 9 to 5 anymore. Mm-hmm. What was that jump like for you? Because I'm just thinking from like a mental space. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, even some of the clients and patients that I see, is just like, hey, I have this creative ideal. I have even like this niche I want to be in, but giving up my 9 to 5 seems so disabling or disorienting. Like, how did you navigate that?
So it was definitely scary, and I just had to do it scared. I did my best to prepare. So I made sure that I had a certain amount. I believe it was like, it's funny, I did a whole YouTube video on this. So maybe you guys want to check that out after this. But I did, I had about 3 to 6 months worth of savings for expenses just in case things didn't work out. And I told myself, if I can make a consecutive, I think it was like, if I can consecutively make what I make in my day job in the business, then I'll leave as well. So I had hit that milestone, and then I had hit the savings milestone. So then the last thing was like, okay, now you just have to and now back then I had to go on Zoom. So I was used to being in person with my team. I had a really good relationship with them. And now I had to hop on these Zoom calls and break up, quit my job. And it was just really awkward. But I think none of them were surprised. They were kind of like, well, we know you've been an entrepreneur. We just thought you'd always do it on the side. But if you want to explore this full time, they were actually really supportive. They were like, go ahead and do it. And they also were like, if you decide you don't want to, there's a space for you to come back. So I think that kind of made me feel good that, okay, if this does go bad, I could always come back to my job. So I think that helped me bridge the gap, because I think for a lot of people, just leaving and feeling like you don't have anything to go back to, or you're not going to be able to get a job again, is the scariest part. But hearing them say that made me think, okay, if this doesn't go great, I could always go back to my career.
Yeah. So you had this cushion almost, where it's just if this doesn't work out, I know that there's a space back for me, the advertise. It was a marketing company or advertising company.
Yeah, it was an advertising company. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. But, failure is not in our vocabulary. So
yeah, exactly. It was never going to happen. My pride would never. But it was like that, that part of your mind that's like, oh my gosh, this is so unstable. What are you doing? It helped ease that logical part of my mind, knowing that I could go back to something else.
Okay. And so then, therefore, the transition became a little bit easier for you. Mm-hmm. So I get that. So you are a woman of color, right? Yes. How are you navigating this space, right? Because I know we hear all the time, I'm a this kind of coach, I'm a that kind of coach, I do this, I do that. How do you navigate that space, but still stay authentic to yourself and still have your creativity shine through all of that?
So It's funny, like in entrepreneurship, I've had to grow more within myself, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, way more than I had to in my corporate job. Like, I think I didn't realize that until I was out of the corporate job. When I was in it, I was like, all I want to do is be myself. I want to be able to say what I want to say. I want to be able to just not feel like I need to code switch or I need to change and morph to other cultures.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, when you're out of it and you've been so trained to do that, it is hard to figure out, okay, who are you now as a professional? Because you knew who professional Sade was and you knew who Sade was, like outside of that professional life. And now you get to just be one. So what does that look like? And in the beginning, if you go back to like older content of mine, even when I look back, I'm like, I was kind of still professional. I thought I had to dress a certain way. I had to speak a certain way. I just was all over the place. And through that journey, I realized through watching other coaches and other professionals online that I can just find the middle ground where I can still be myself and be entertaining and say what I want to say in a respectful way, obviously, but it doesn't have to be corporate standard. And I think that was like the hardest thing to navigate, especially being a Black woman, because you don't want to come across as like, oh, she's too Black or she's too whatever. Not that you can ever be that, but that sometimes people are perceiving you that way. And bridging that gap is something that helped me a lot because I think it translated into my content. I started like being myself more, connecting with my clients on a deeper level. And I started attracting more women of color as well who really wanted this help. And a lot of my clients are like me. They are working a business or they're working a job and they're starting a business or they're having a business on the side and they want to grow it. Or some of them are newer in business or established in business, but just super disorganized. And I'm able to, help them navigate that space too.
And I think it's always good to see someone that looks like you, right? So biologically and just like innately, when we go into a room, we actually naturally gravitate towards what's familiar to us, right? So if we see someone, I always use this example, right? So when natural hair is still a thing, but when like the natural hair girlies would like go into a space, I noticed, because like people watch all the time, it's just like the first people they would go to is like someone that looks just like them, like with the same hair, like especially if you're in a room of like full of Black women. Now, if you're like a minority and you're in the room full of the majority, you gravitate towards someone that looks more like you. So like maybe another fellow Black woman. And so here you are in this space that's highly saturated with like our counterparts, and you're just like, hey, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to show up. In this way, you don't have that cognitive dissonance that a lot of us do have when we are trying to navigate new spaces, especially in the entrepreneurial world. And so I'm glad that you even highlighted that, like, there is this middle ground. I can say what I want to say. I can show up and be who I am, but still maintain parts of me. And I think that's super important. Very important. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a little earlier about your balanced lifestyle and how you're like, hey, I have to do this. I'm somebody's partner. Well, now, wife, right? I'm managing all these things. When did you realize that a balanced like lifestyle or time management is super important for you?
I realized it when a lot of my dreams became like actual tangible goals and things I started achieving. So I realized if I could just leverage my time and be intentional with it and think it through ahead of time, it took away a lot of my stress, a lot of my anxiety, a lot of my overwhelm. And then, of course, it helped me to plan, but also it helped me to have more faith too, because I think you can make a really great plan. But I realized, okay, if you don't believe in the plan and if you don't allow yourself to allow God's intervention with the plan and be able to adapt, that's also going to negatively hold you back. And I think all of those things came together when I started managing my time better. Like I really just got intentional. I would sit down, I would like write out all of the things that I had going on for the upcoming week. And then I would I always say this analogy. I thought of everything I needed to do like puzzle pieces. And I was like, okay, you take puzzle pieces and you put them together to make this beautiful puzzle. So like everything you want to do is absolutely necessary and like can happen, but maybe it's not all happening on Monday, like how you want it to. Maybe it needs to happen over the course of 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. And I was really inspired by a lot of people who would tell me you can't have it all. Like, I think there is some people who say you can have it all. I'm one of those. But there was a lot of people, especially in like my corporate environment, and a lot of the women, especially if they were moms or they were in higher positions, they would say, it's really hard for us to have it all. It's really hard for us to manage all these different things. It's just going to be almost impossible. And I was like, I know that's not true. Like, I watched people in my family do it. So like and people online do it all the time. I think all of those things inspired me to want to, pursue this career, make it work, and just balance all the different roles. And balance doesn't mean equal parts, because that's one of those things I see online all the time. People are like, stop saying balance, because balance means 50-50 and 20-20 and 30-30. And yes, like by definition, like that's the word balance means, but I don't view it like that. I think about it as just alignment, whatever that looks like for you. Does that mean you're giving 50% to your career, 20% to your partner, 30% to yourself? Another, I don't know if the math is mathing, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you're putting just different percentages that work for you to each part of your life. And then I think if you're doing that, like for myself and for my clients, then you're doing really well.
I like that. And honestly, I live by the same thing. I actually don't think people think like, I have to give 100% and I don't have anything left. I actually don't think mathematically balance even looks like, we can't really equate it to that, because we have so many roles outside of our everyday. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, when you're dealing with your clients, like, what are some common things that come up for you, like that you're seeing like patternistic wise or as challenges?
I see for a lot of my clients, they don't think they have control over their lives, right? So they are always like, I want to just reclaim my time. I want to reclaim my time. And because I'm not consistent and I don't have good habits and I'm not disciplined. And I always have to first work through their mindset, which is something I was just sharing on a live yesterday. Like, it's something that I didn't think I would need to do in so much depth, but I'm realizing that's where a lot of their systems and like their time management, a lot of that productivity issues first is starting in their mind. So for me, I'm typically working through like, why are you telling yourself like it's all or nothing? Like, that's a cognitive distortion. Like, why are you claiming that? Why are you dwelling on the past? Why are you saying you're not disciplined, but yeah, you show up to your job every day, right? Like, you brush your teeth every day. Like, I can always find different examples of ways in which we can combat a lot of the things you're telling yourself. Like, women especially think, oh, I have to do these things. I have to do these things. I have to do these things. I have to do this for this person, not for that person. And at the end of the day, that's always a decision. You're deciding to do those things to those people. You're deciding to show up in this way or that way. And we forget that because we've allowed guilt and shame and all these different things and come up. So I'm constantly working through with clients, like getting clear on like, what are those limiting beliefs that you have? What do you actually want? Or is this something that you think you want because you're supposed to want it or because you saw it on Instagram? And I think there is this culture of like, now people want things just because they see it's possible online, but they may have never ever wanted that. And it's like, it's good and bad, but it definitely is something we have to explore before I can get into, okay, here's how you get disciplined. Here's how you set boundaries. Here's how you prioritize. Here's how you set up a scheduling system for your life, for your business, for work, whatever it is. We have to first unpack a lot of the things that are currently going on and use that to inform the changes you want to make with your time management.
Alrighty, so thank you for that. I do have a question though. So let's say, because you're seeing people with mindset distortions or cognitive distortions, do you ever not take a client because you're like, hey, look, maybe you can't get past this specific point, and in order for us to be really effective, especially with your time management, we need to focus on this a little bit more?
Absolutely. So I have had clients come on who just are not a good fit, and I refer them to a therapist, and I'm like, yeah, you probably should pursue like that issue before we even can work together, because I'm not, clinically licensed for certain things. So I do like refer people to other people, but most of the time, even if I take on a client, I'm always suggesting that they should be doing some type of mindset work, spiritual work, whether it's therapy, meditation, breath work, whatever it is that they find they want to do, that is like always a part. Like I actually teach that in morning routines, that everyone should have something like that in their morning routine, because we all need to be more mindful.
So I'm nosy. What's your morning routine like?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I love my routine. I have been sticking to this routine for years. So typically, but it's definitely, so I'm currently pregnant. So like it's still the same, but it's a little slower than it used to be. But typically when I do wake up in the morning, first thing I do is, go straight to the bathroom. I like to do a quick little stretch, get some sunlight in. If it is, light outside, which usually is by the time I'm up. And then after that, I journal. So I have these like 5 questions I go through every day, because when I would just journal, I realized it could get negative. So I was like, I'm going to start giving myself questions to probe myself for the day. So my first question always is, what went well the day before? Then the second one is, what could have been improved or gone better? Third one is, what are 3 things you're grateful for? And then the fourth one is, what are 3 things you love about yourself? And they cannot repeat within the same week. So you have to like think of 3 things new. And then the 5th one is, how would you like today to go? And then I kind of like script how I would like today to go. And then after I finish with that journal practice, I tend to meditate for about 10 minutes on the Calm app. And that's so easy. They have daily meditations. So I just open the app, click it, listen to the app. And that's got me really consistent because they track it. It's very simple. After I meditate, then I read. So it's either an audiobook, and I'm like listening to the audiobook while I'm getting ready for the day and cooking breakfast, or sometimes I'll actually physically read a book. It really just depends on like the day. But that's like my go-to routine. And then I go into like making breakfast, and then I typically go right into my office.
Okay. And do you have like a home office, or do you have like an actual office outside of your home?
Home office.
Home office. Okay. So here, because I know you touch on like organization as well, right? Like time management, organization. How do you create that separation? Because that's one of the things that I see like my own like patients come up with, where it's just like, I work from home since the pandemic. It's like, I work from home. I don't know how to separate these things. And I'm bringing my work into like my bedroom now and things like that. How do you help people, like, again, because that falls into time management, right? But then organization, how do you separate that for yourself? And what are some things that you tell others as well?
So separating it is actually not very hard for me, because my office,
my pro, Sade.
Yeah. But okay, so I'll just share how I do it and what some things I suggest, and then let me know if you have like follow-up questions. But I separate it by space. So even when I had a 1-bedroom, because I wasn't always in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath like apartment. I used to be in a 1-bedroom, and I had to just have a nice corner that was strictly for work. And only thing I did in that corner was work. And I would have certain playlists and plants and certain candles. Like I set up an environment where when I'm in this environment, I do work. When I step out of that environment, I do everything else. So whether that means I have to close the office door like I have now, so I'm really just in tune with this podcast and I'm not thinking about the dishes or whatever else is going on out there, and helping me to do that, as well as my calendar. So my calendar is blocked off, and not every hour to the minute to the second, because I'm not pro time blocking like that, but I do time block off my priorities. And I also time block off my routines and my wind down time. So this is something I had to do, because reason why a lot of people bring their work into their personal lives is because they don't know how to stop, and they don't tell themselves like, hey, this is a boundary, this is my rule. I'm going to stop working at this time no matter what, unless like there's a fire and you really have to like tend to something urgently. Most of the time you can shut the laptop off. You'd probably be better if you rested and then pick this up the next day and like you plan your day for the next day. Yeah, it makes it easier. So that is what I have implemented, especially as an entrepreneur, because when I worked a day job and had a business, I worked until I went to sleep. Like I'd be on a laptop in the bed, like, and then I realized that was not something I wanted to bring into full-time entrepreneurship, because we did not get here to like work all the time. Mm-hmm. So I started implementing that like wind down time. That's when I close the laptop down and I do something else. And I do my best to be conscious of it. So like when I'm on my phone, I don't go, okay, I'm going to answer DMs for work now. No, that's a work task. If I'm on DMs, it better be me talking to my friends or like on the phone or doing something personal. So it does take a bit of practice. And I tell my clients, sometimes you need to just like say it out loud, especially because a lot of them are like, I get on social media and then I'm doing it for work sometimes and I get distracted, or I'm doing it for personal stuff. Then I get distracted by something that I need to do for work on my phone or whatever. And I'm like, say it out loud, set app limits, set boundaries, set little triggers to remind yourself that you're doing those things, whatever you need to do to like keep it top of mind.
I feel so seen right now and naked. So, gosh, okay. Because at one point in time, I actually used to be really good at like, work is work, home is home, you know? And then because I have a home office and then I actually have my actual office, I find that when I am at home too, and I'm like late on like some of my clinical work, I'm like, oh, let me just do it now. Right. And then I find myself like doing things that I shouldn't be doing when I'm like supposed to be spending time with my kids. So I feel seen. I almost feel like I need to hire you at this point. So we're going to like switch roles. Because time management is hard. Time management is super hard. So for you, one or maybe two juicy things, right, that we can tell the audience as a practical tool or technique that you would recommend for optimizing their time.
Okay. So first one, plan your tomorrow today. So I always say go to sleep with a plan so you can wake up with a purpose. And the same as like plan your tomorrow today, meaning that I like to personally plan like a week in advance, but for some people that's too much. So at least having some time at the end of your day, maybe this is before your wind down routine, where you just look at what you got done today and you don't beat yourself up about it. You just say, this got done today, this didn't, this needs to be moved into tomorrow. What do I want tomorrow to look like? I'm going to start with this certain plan. Like just having that alone could help so many people, because a lot of women I speak to, they have so many things going on in their head. And I'm like, girl, after like the 7th or 8th thing, you're going to forget. Like, why are you trying to become a filing cabinet? Just save yourself some mental space and just write it down and create some type of system that works for you. And I can go into my system if you want, but that is like my number one thing that I always tell people, like have that meeting with yourself, take it very seriously. There's so much power in having a meeting with yourself too, because that literally helped me lose 30 pounds. Like I used to have a meeting with myself at the gym, and that was like how I ended up losing so much weight when I was like overweight like years ago. And I was like, I'm struggling. I can't do it. It's never, I'm not making the changes. And when I started treating my gym like sessions like a meeting with myself, it changed everything for me. So I always share that example because I think for some people, they don't think of having a meeting with themselves and how they would show up for a meeting with anybody else. But why wouldn't they show up for a meeting with themselves?
I love that. So at one point, I used to kind of use that, but not necessarily with myself. So I read a book and I can't remember what it's called. And they used to say like have like meetings, but like with your nation, right? And then it kind of went into this like imagination, right? And so you imagine like you're at a table with like all these wise figures and they're telling you like how to be good at this thing and this thing. And I remember at one time I used to have P. Diddy at my table, but he got booted out, right?
Yeah. Definitely now.
There was Oprah, I remember, right? I used to have Michael Jackson there.
I got Oprah behind me.
Right? Yeah, like I had so many different people at that table and then myself. And I feel like that's how I would like be really empowered. And so I think even just not even having those people, I think just having myself and showing up, I think that's really impactful and effective too. Okay. So your time management, you said you have like your own specific time management kind of thing.
Like I have a strategy on how I plan. That if you wanted me to go in more depth, I could, because I know I mentioned like do this planning and people might be like, well, how am I supposed to plan? And if you're feeling like that, I can answer that.
Yes, but this is only going to be for those who opt into like the exclusive content. So you go ahead and share. But if y'all are not opt into the exclusive content, this is your time to pause the video, pause your listening platform, go ahead and opt in, and then meet us back over there where Sade is going to share her little goodies and then come back here. Okay. No, Sade, continue.
Okay. So how I plan and how I actually teach my clients to plan is it all starts.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And yes, I actually so I was saying like, I love a good brain dump, and I actually am, but I do to-do lists, not for my brain dump, but just like outside of that. Because like I said, I need a time management coach at this point in my life because I don't know what I'm doing. But every time I cross something off my to-do list, I feel great. And every time I feel like really overwhelmed and I feel like my thoughts can't find a landing point, I will do a brain dump. So I'll do it at like any point, like during the day, just because I'm like, hey, look, I need to think clear and I can't do that without doing that. So yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for you, as you are reflecting just like on your journey, what would you say is like the biggest accomplishment you've ever had, Sade, at this point? Like what was super rewarding? Was something you're like, wow, I did that?
See, I always feel so rewarded when I see people achieving their goals and changing in ways they didn't think they ever would. So for some that like, I had a client who she made her first like 5 figures in her business, like, and she like 10x'd her business in just a couple months. And then I had one client leave her corporate job and pursue her business full time. I've had others reduce stress and anxiety and actually increase their wellness, lose weight, just because they got really intentional with their routines. I had one client, she wrote an entire book in 90 days. Like she had been trying to publish this book for years and we got it together, got her on a good schedule and she published it. And she had written the whole book in 90 days and then she was working towards publishing over the next like 3. And so people have like really accomplished all types of things. Like I had a client who literally found her partner through getting intentional with her time. Like she started intentionally dating. And she had been struggling to find a partner. And then she was like, oh my God, are you a relationship guru too? And I was like, well, we just made the time for it. Like we really just got intentional. And she ended up finding her partner. So like, it really, like people always ask like, what are the results you get for clients? And it really runs a gamut. I'm always saying like, whatever your goals are, I'm going to help you create a roadmap for those things. And then we're going to get intentional with how to actually line up your time and your days and your tasks to get you to where you want to be.
And I like that you even use the word roadmap because it kind of conceptualizes everything. It's just like, hey, these are the targets and this is how we're going to get there. Oh, okay. So I know you have an event coming up in April. Yes. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So I'm excited. I am doing a virtual masterclass. It's going to be all on how to manage your work, your wellness, and your relationships in a peaceful way. And I'm going to be talking through what I call the overwhelmed to organized framework. And essentially what that looks like is I'll be teaching the number one thing you must do to avoid overwhelm and start living peacefully. I'll be teaching the best way to limit distractions and increase your focus and productivity. And I'll also be covering how to create your ideal lifestyle design, like that actual schedule that I just spoke on. And this is all going down Tuesday, April 16th at 7 p.m. EST. So if you want to join, the link is probably going to be in my bio on Instagram for sure. And you can always DM me on Instagram as well. You add the link to, okay. So we will also have the link. Yeah.
All right. So y'all heard that April 16th. The link is going to be in Sade Kelly's bio, but then also it's going to be in the show notes. And then also if you are a video watcher, it's going to be down in the description box somewhere. So make sure you guys go attend this because she's dropping gems. So why not pick it up? Okay.
Yes. Right. Oh, I like that.
All right.
Awesome.
So Sade, we're at this point where I'm bringing it back from last season, my lightning round. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a list of 10 questions really quick, just rapid fire. Just rapid fire answer though. They're not that hard. Okay. So Sade, physical planners or smartphone apps?
Smartphone apps.
Okay. Batch tasks together or tackle them individually?
Batch.
Okay. Limited social media use to specific times or use it sporadically?
Limit. The first one.
Okay. Time blocking or prioritizing to-do lists?
Time blocking for sure.
All right, now a little something different. Reality TV shows or documentaries?
Oh, I know it's supposed to be rap. Okay, a documentary. I'm definitely more of a documentary, but it depends on the reality show.
Okay. Now I'm nosy. What reality shows like your top?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Don't judge me. But I actually really like shows about like sisters. So I watched the Kardashians. I watched the Soados. I don't know how to say their name, but they're like on Hulu and they're like this Middle Eastern. Yeah. So I don't know why I enjoy. I think it's funny. I grew up with a lot of brothers. I have an older sister, but she's like way older than me. She's like 14 years older than me. So we didn't really grow up in the house together. So all I knew was guys growing up. So like I think I just enjoyed like watching people with sisters. And I'm like, that's how it could have been. Right. It's just so entertaining. Yes.
You're in the show just seeking to gravitate towards like the experience.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. All right. Cats or dogs? Coffee or tea?
Tea.
All right. Beach vacation or mountain retreat?
I didn't hear what was the second one?
Beach vacations or mountain retreats?
Oh, beach.
Beach, okay. Comedy movies or action-packed thrillers?
Comedy.
Okay. The Conscious Creative Corner or the Conscious Creative Corner?
Both.
All right. Thank you. You did good. Honestly, it's been a pleasure having you here. Can you tell the listeners and the viewers like where we can find you on all social media platforms? And I always preach boundaries. So if it's like, hey, I don't want to give them, you don't have to give them.
Oh, I like that. I've never had someone make that optional, but yes, I do want to give them. Thanks for having me. This has been really fun. I also love those questions. You can find me at Sade, Sade Kelly, Kelly _ on like everything. I'm most active on Instagram though. And then you can find me also on my site, thefireinsidesade.com.
Awesome. And you're still like, it's still a blog?
Yes. So now it's a mixture. Like there's blog stuff, there's products, like low ticket like products on there. Also my coaching program landing page is on there, my homepage, my speaker kit, like it's like an encompassing whole brand now.
Okay, I see you.
Yes.
My blog died a long time ago when COVID came, so.
I heard blogging is not the same anymore though, so understandable.
I mean, it's still lucrative, but like I said, my blog had COVID, so it's gone. So it is what it is. But thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. Actually, I don't think we ever met. Like, we never spoke in like person, have we?
No, I don't. You were based out of Jersey though, right?
Connecticut.
Maybe that's why. Because I thought, I used to be based out of New York, but now I'm in Atlanta. So no, I don't think we ever met in person, but you definitely inspired my blog, like for sure. I don't know if you know this, but like literally I was so inspired by your blog and you were one of the reasons why I started this blog. So, and you were actually the first person who taught me how to time audit. Like, and actually, like, I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, you had like a whole thing in your course about like auditing your time, seeing where it's going. And that helped me really get intentional. And I still use like that principle in my own coaching. Yeah. So thank you.
I don't practice what I preach anymore. So it is. But I'm going to be, listen, we have to hang out because I'm going to be in Atlanta in a couple months. So I'll definitely hit you up.
Yes, let me know.
Maybe that's what I'm talking about. But if you're having visitors,
wait, when are you going to be here though?
In August.
He'll be out. We should be okay. Just contact me. We'll touch base. Yeah.
Let's see how you feel. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you are a listener, I am waiting for your review, good or bad. Any feedback is good feedback. Just let me know. Make sure you give it a 5-star rating if you love it. If you are a YouTube viewer, once again, y'all are not subscribed and it's free. And I just don't understand, but you're watching the videos. So subscribe and I will see you guys in the next one. But before you go, please watch the video here because I know you guys are going to like it. Bye.